So we'll be working in this series on the book Unix, system programming, and in this series basically we'll be trying to cover the basic programs that are a foundation to the other complex programs, where we need to understand the terminology. And because in the book there are programs where the functions are not defined, like explained for a better understanding. Although we'll go line by line, explaining, trying to explain every line, and hence some of the important programs are taken. So let's get on with it. And the first program is about copying a file. So this is a program reference of program 4.2 in the book of K.A. Robbins, Unix systems. It says copy file.c function copies a file from FT2 to FT. So from a file descriptor to a file descriptor. So now what we have to do is we'll first define some libraries. We'll include, as we are doing a Unix on a Unix, so uni-std would be the library you would include. We'll use hash include erno h. So this is basically library for using interrupts. So interrupts basically, or the condition -1, they both intrude into the program, stop it or halt it. Okay, so this library refers to the interrupt situation which halts it. So let's proceed further. We'll do an int copy file function. Now you will say that where is that hash include block function? So I'll write it, but I'll hash define. You'll define a block size. This is the block size, that is it is taken 1024. So what is this? I'll explain in the program as we go on. Int argc comma int argv. So what are these functions? So argc would keep the count of argv as the data comes in, as we are copying the file from one file to another. As first byte comes in, as first 2 to 3 bits come in, they'll be held in as string in this. Okay, and this would keep the count. As the bit comes in, it would become 1, and then 2, and then 3. So you understand. So this is basically the counter of this array. Okay, or the buffer. As the data comes in, it counts. So these are the arguments, and then we'll definitely define the variables. The int we will write, okay, byte write. So before byte write, you should have written byte read. So we would write byte read. Okay, so as you read from the file where the data is, to copy it into another file, you will have to then write it. So byte read write. and you will take int total bytes, how many bytes are copied into that. So keep a check. And then there is so for the storage, now storage you have to take a char, a buffer, yeah, with now the buffer size here would be the block size. So the block size is the buffer size, that is 104, and you would take a char pointer to the buffer, right? Pointer to the buffer, this is the pointer to the buffer. And then what you do is you have, now we are what we are trying to do in this case is now, so the first function would be to, this is the loop going on. So what we would do is in this function is we'll first read from the files, right? So while we byte reads equals to the read function. So the read function, what it takes is it would take the location from fd okay, where from the source where it is going to take file, the storage area, in this case it would be the buff, and the size of the buffer, that is block size, right? So these are the three parameters. So the while will be so this condition, if it's -1, it would it would not read, or it would, like, this is the condition I told you that we are trying to, if it's not equal to -1, it would read. If it becomes -1, then means it's a negative value or nothing is there to read. Or another case would be and, when it cannot read, if it is -1, this case, or the library we have imported, the no equals to, that is the interrupter, that is also mentioned in the book. So this is the case. If this happens, so it would keep reading. And so how do you know that if a page has ended? So it keeps reading, and if the bytes read is less than equal to 0, then it should break, because it refers to the page has ended, or the file has ended, right? So it breaks, and then